What does fashion mean to you? To some people, it's buying the top brands. To others, it's mimicking their favourite icons. But for all of us, it is a way of expressing our individuality. My name's Laura, and I'm going to take a closer look at fashion and see how it's changed over the years to find my own definition of fashion. I'm going to start my journey by taking a look at some of the Kay's catalogues from the last century.
Hello, are you Laura?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jenny. Welcome to the research collections. I hear you've come to have a look at the Kay's catalogues.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. I've got you out one from each decade because we've got dozens and dozens of them. We'll dive in somewhere near the middle. So this is autumn 54, and I've marked up a page for you which I think is quite quintessentially 50s. So do you want to dive in there?
Look at those. You've got a full skirt.
Yep.
Like,
yep.
You're suddenly allowed a figure. These women have hips. The other day there was outrage because a model had an actual tummy, and everybody was disgusted. I think if I looked at these as a young woman, like maybe having a flick through, there would be a small part of me that's like, oh blimey, I don't look like that at all.
There wasn't a lot of money to go shopping in the early 50s, but what they did have was their own sewing machine and access to fabric. So it would have made them make, I think, rather than make them shop. This is 1997.
It is almost painfully 90s.
But you can also see at this point how derivative fashion is becoming. So this is styled as a retro shoot.
Yeah.
And you can see the 50s and the 60s in it.
90s sort of lost its way. What we're going to do, we'll just borrow from every other era.
Just keep doing the same stuff.
We'll take bits that we liked, so the 70s maxi dress.
Yep.
And then we'll mix it with stuff we can do now. Lots of patterns. You've got a constant pressure to always try and fit in somewhere.
Yes.
It's become so branded and so commercial. It's definitely not make your own clothes anymore.
No.
It's buy one so you look
not.
like your TV stars. That is.
Exactly.
After talking with Jenny, it's clear that fashion really has changed a lot since the catalogues were first around. To really understand why it has changed and why so many fashions are becoming increasingly popular, I've arranged to talk to Claire, who runs Secondhand Rose, a second-hand clothes shop in Worcester. What's your favourite era for fashion?
There's things in every era that I do really like, but I'd say that late 70s is actually my favourite. My dream thing would be to go to Studio 54, the disco where Andy Warhol used to go, and dress up in some gorgeous gold cat suits and disco dance with all the celebrities.
See, I never thought of the 70s. I always go straight to the 50s. Always.
Everybody, yeah, especially at the moment, people love the 40s and 50s. Yeah. There is a real era of glamour when women were women, and it was so different to now, so smart and formal and feminine.
Beautifully cut as well. Every little detail, the gloves, the hats, it's
yeah, complete
beautiful
outfits.
Yeah,
it is a really amazing, it was such a big time for fashion as well, the 1950s. So I can see why you're fond of that.
Why do you think certain fashions come back in?
Well, you can never really predict, I don't think, until the time. It's very influenced by what's going on in society, the way people are feeling about life and about what's popular, what films are out, what's on the TV. People want to look like their idols, and it's very interesting to see what parts of a society will come back into fashion.
What do you think of today's fashion?
I feel quite confused really, because on the one side I think it's amazing. People really push boundaries more than ever because fabrics are so varied and technology is so advanced. It means that people really can go wild with what they come up with. But then on the other side is the cheap manufacturing and the throwaway society we live in, and I think people really don't appreciate clothes like they should anymore, and they don't buy clothes to last. They buy things just to wear for a season and then throw it away, and I think that's a really bad attitude.
Do you think today's fashion will be reappearing in 50 years' time?
Without a doubt it will be. Fashion is so cyclical that every era does come back eventually. The only thing I would say is it's really hard to predict what elements of it will be coming back into fashion.
From my talks with Jenny and Claire, I have found that fashion is a way of expressing individuality, so it is ever changing, Body image is also a major factor, and women's body shape in particular has been shifting over the decades. But one thing that hasn't changed is our attitudes towards body image. I've decided to take to the streets to get a view of how the general public feel about their own fashion and body image.
Is there a fashion era you sort of remember and kind of look back and think, oh,
well,
those are the good old days?
I'm a teenager in the 70s, and the fashions in the 70s were awful, but we loved it.
Yes, we did, didn't we?
And an era that we weren't born in, that I would love to go back to, would be the 40s.
It was just so very elegant and dressed up. Tailored. Yeah.
You know, you had to wear a hat, you had to wear gloves that matched your shoes, your handbag, everything coordinated.
40s and 50s.
50s definitely coming. Love the 50s.
What about the 40s and 50s makes you that little bit more confident about fashion?
So feminine and quite powerful as well, because it's kind of like tucked in and
neat and tidy.
Your best bits.
Do you think there's more pressure on people now, or it was
Yes.
just in a different way?
Absolutely,
lots
much
more
more pressure.
I've got 2 daughters and lots more pressure. Yeah, lots more pressure.
Magazines are full of really skinny girls. A lot of it's airbrushed. It just gives the wrong impression to a lot of the youngsters.
Do you think it's tougher now to be? Do you think it'd be tougher
It
to
is.
be a young woman
I
now?
don't recall that when I was younger that I was under any pressure to wear what was in. I did it because I was fairly fashionable in those days.
Women's kind of had a magazine kind of culture. Where did men look to?
Really, it was at that time it was a music scene. So it would be sort of like groups that you might not have heard of, but Deep Purple and well, you know what they were wearing, Pink Floyd. It was very much the influence of really the music scene, I think. Certainly for me in my 20s.
As for my definition of fashion, there isn't one. It's completely up to you. Individuality is key. Body shape and personal taste play an essential part in what you wear, regardless of what is popular. For me, fashion has always been interesting. It's something that you're bullied for, praised for, but is essentially you. Fashion shows your personality, your heritage. To me, it shows me.